Hey Econ Squad, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we're going to look at the differences between macroeconomics and microeconomics. So, if you're ready to get them brain cows milked, then let's get to it. Now, there are many different definitions of economics, but I want to use this one from Paul Krugman because I think it is very applicable to both macro and microeconomics. Economics is about scarcity. It's about how we make our choices under conditions of scarcity. And in economics, scarcity means that we don't have enough resources or enough of anything to satisfy the wants of all those who possess it. Okay, so the first thing that we have to understand is what is economics. Macroeconomics looks at the behavior of the economy as a whole and aggregates all the microeconomics activity into measures such as aggregate expenditure, GDP, inflation, or unemployment. So macroeconomics studies the interactions between these aggregate measures. So why do economists study macroeconomics? If the price goes down, you might say, well, great, people can afford to buy more pickup trucks. You know how sometimes when you're driving around town you see billboards advertising hospitals and medical clinics. Microeconomics looks at how individuals and firms make decisions and how those decisions are made in the context of resource allocation. Microeconomics considers how people's incentives affect the quantities of resources that they'll supply or demand. Macroeconomics looks at the economy as a whole and aggregates all the microeconomics activity into measurable forms like GDP, inflation, unemployment, and aggregate expenditures. So what we can see here is that microeconomics deals with individual behavior, while macroeconomics deals with aggregate behavior. Microeconomics looks at the individual parts of the economy, while macroeconomics looks at the economy as a whole. Sometimes they advertise things like low insurance premiums or 24-hour care. Decisions made by individual economic agents are based on incentives which result in macroeconomic outcomes. Oh, and if you want me to keep making these videos, then by all means subscribe and I shall oblige. These ads are microeconomics incentives that drive your decision-making process. Maybe you choose to sign up for that hospital's insurance plan, or maybe you choose to go to that clinic if you feel sick. Your decision is based on the incentive presented to you on the billboard. Now imagine that instead of driving around town, you're rewatching TV and you see a commercial by the same hospital advertising the exact same things, low insurance premiums and 24-hour care. So you didn't necessarily seek out this information, but now it's being brought to you. So you might think, okay, well, now I have two choices. I can go to the hospital that I saw on the billboard, or I can go to the hospital that I saw on TV. But what if all the hospitals in the area started running the exact same ad at the same time? So now you're getting bombarded with the same information from all the hospitals. Well, if you're anything like me, you're gonna start feeling like I don't have any choice here. Like, if all the options are the same, what's the point? So now your decision-making process becomes easier. You're no longer comparing option A to option B. Now you just choose not to buy whatever it is that they're trying to sell you. So now you can see that this microeconomics decision, your decision to purchase insurance or to go to a certain hospital, translates into a macro outcome, which might be reflected in the hospital's quarterly profits. That's great news, but what if everyone starts buying pickup trucks? Well, this increased demand for pickup trucks might cause the price to go back up again. And if this happens, fewer people will buy pickup trucks, causing the price to fall again. So you can see that there is an interplay between the micro incentives of buyers and sellers and the resulting macro outcome, which is the price of the pickup truck. So while macroeconomics deals with the big picture, these big picture concepts are built upon microeconomics foundations. Well, because if we want to address large-scale problems like high unemployment or widespread poverty, we need to understand the big picture. So macroeconomists ask questions like, how does the federal government budget deficit impact the overall health of the economy? Or what causes the aggregate price level to change over time? Or why are some countries richer than others? So when we're talking about how we allocate our limited resources to satisfy unlimited wants, we're talking about economics. However, if you think about it, macroeconomics is built upon microeconomics foundations. What do I mean by this? Well, let's consider a microeconomics concept called supply and demand. This model shows how the price of a good or service is set in a free market economy. In this diagram, the demand curve is the relationship between the quantity demanded of a good or service and its price. Remember that the law of demand says that as the price increases, the quantity demanded decreases and vice versa. The supply curve is the relationship between the quantity supplied of a good or service and its price. The law of supply says that as the price increases, the quantity supplied increases and vice versa. Supply and demand are determined by individual buyers and sellers. These individual decisions are based on individual incentives. For example, if the price of a cup of coffee goes up, a coffee seller might be incentivized to supply more coffee because the revenue from each cup of coffee just went up. Likewise, if the price of a used 2021 Ford F-150 pickup truck goes down, people might be incentivized to buy that truck because the price is lower. All of these microeconomics incentives translate into macro outcomes. Now we can break this down further by looking at macroeconomics versus microeconomics. Microeconomics is the study of how households and firms make decisions and how those decisions are made in the context of resource allocation. So microeconomics is concerned with the behavior of individual economic agents. So these could be consumers, businesses, workers, or even specific industries. Microeconomics looks at how individuals or groups of individuals respond to incentives. For example, if you know that your salary is about to go up, you might decide to work harder because the reward for your effort is now higher. So microeconomics would look at how changes in incentives like wages affect the behavior of individual workers or the quantity of labor supplied. Microeconomics also looks at how firms make production decisions based on incentives. For example, if a firm knows that the price of oil is going to go up, they might decide to invest in more automation or new equipment that will reduce their long-term costs because the input cost, which is the price of oil, is going to increase. The prefix macro means large or wide angle, so macroeconomics must be about the economy at large. Well, the prefix micro means small or narrow angle. So microeconomics must be about the economy in narrow terms. Now, if we take a look at these two terms, macroeconomics and microeconomics, the prefix for these words gives us a clue about their meaning. Now, let's look at the formal definitions of micro and macroeconomics. Macroeconomics, on the other hand, is the study of the economy as a whole. So hopefully you can see that microeconomics focuses on the actions of individual economic agents while macroeconomics looks at the economy in aggregate form. Let's take the case of the used Ford F-150 pickup truck. Here's another way to look at it. Hopefully you can see that macroeconomics and microeconomics are interconnected. Let's review what we've learned. Now, despite these differences, microeconomics and macroeconomics are interconnected. And hey, if you happen to be taking AP Microeconomics or AP Macroeconomics, let me know in the comments below if you found this video helpful.